Hey there, guys. Welcome to your 2024 Naka Tournament Trail rules meeting / captains meeting. This one will cover the rules that are common to all of our tournaments, and then there will be individual videos posted as the captains meetings for the individual tournaments that we do, because each of those has some unique aspects. The first thing I want to point out is that it's the angler's responsibility to know the rules. They're posted on our website, nakatrail.com, and then we're going to hit some of the highlights here, but not all of them. But it's the angler's responsibility to know those. When they register for a tournament, they check that they've read those rules and that they're familiar with them. Some first things is that all participants have agreed to a liability release that's also done in tournament registration on TourneyX. Right now, unless there's a waiver granted, all of our participants are 18 and older. All participants must have a valid fishing license for the body of water that's being targeted, and all entrants must follow all federal, state, and local government rules for boating and fishing. We've made some changes this year regarding scoring of fish and judging. One of those is that all payouts will be done the Wednesday after a tournament versus the Monday after a tournament. And what that does is allow us to extend the time that individuals have the right to lobby a complaint. Our weigh-ins are typically at 3 p.m. Entrants will have 24 hours to file a complaint with the tournament director, and then that gives us time to follow up on any of those things before making payouts. Watercraft. We allow canoes, we allow kayaks, we allow stand-up paddleboards, we allow float tubes. Similar vessels are permitted. If you have question on whether your vessel qualifies, reach out to your tournament director before participating. Unless specifically prohibited by an event or a water, we do allow electric motors. The electric motor must be attached to the kayak, and the electric motor used may not exceed the manufacturer's label of 3 horsepower or 155 foot-pound thrust. We don't allow multiple electric motors, just one to be used at any given time. The fish may be caught from your vessel or by wading. The wading's allowed as long as the kayak is within view. And again, all the pictures still have to show the kayak in the picture that you're submitting on TourneyX. We do require the use of U.S. Coast Guard approved chest type PDFs to be worn on the tournament and at all times. We recommend that when kayaking in low light situations such as rain, fog, that competitors operate their kayak in a safe manner and assure that they can be seen. So a 360 light, a flag helps in those situations, but also not attempting to fish ledges on Gunnersville, for example, in a heavy fog. That's just not good idea. In eligible waters, all Naka tournament stops will operate as radius launches, meaning that any public launch on the lake identified between dam to dam that's identified in the specific tournament's captain's meeting will qualify. Those launches do have to be public. Some pay sites are eligible as well if they're open to the public, where anyone could launch there if they paid the fee. Again, if there's a question, reach out to your tournament director. All water must be navigable from the main body of water without crossing a man-made barrier. So you may be fishing way up in a creek, or you may be fishing in a backwater, but you may be putting in way up in that creek or in that backwater, but for that water to be eligible, it has to be navigable from the main body of water to that place. It can't be cut off by anything man-made. We don't allow mothershipping, meaning we don't allow you to get towed around by your buddy's bass boat. And the tournament director may declare some waters off limit prior to the tournament. Under general rules, the first cast time will be announced at the individual tournaments captains meetings. Don't cause undue harm to the fish. We don't want to see a fish with a jacked up jaw, and all fish must be released immediately after the picture process. We don't allow keeping or harvesting a fish, and each fish, even in the unlikely event that a fish was caught twice, we still only allow it to be submitted once. And under tackle and equipment, we only allow artificial lures, no live bait. We do allow depth finders. We allow nets. All of this is an individual tournament, not a team tournament, so we don't allow your buddy to help you land fish or take pictures or net fish or any of that. It's an individual tournament. Under Section 7, under qualifying fish, obviously the fish has to be caught in eligible waters. It has to be caught with a rod and a reel. Let's see. We are 5 fish limits unless otherwise noted in our tournaments. At the weigh-in, a weigh-in will occur at the end of each tournament. It's mandatory for any of the participants that expect cash payouts to attend those weigh-ins. So we do turn off tournament results usually a couple hours before to kind of add to the suspense. If you think you're in the money, you need to show up at the weigh-in. We encourage everyone to show up at the weigh-in to support the club and the sponsors. But if you're in the money, it is mandatory. We do use Tourney X for our tournament hosting, and that app is available at Tourney X Pro on any of the app sites. There will be a lines in and a lines out time for each tournament. You can get on the water at a safe time before those things or after those things, depending on how long it takes you to drive to the weigh-in. But the first cast times will be indicated at the captain's meeting. We also require that anglers check in and check out using the Tourney X app so that we know who's on the water and who's not. Under judging and scoring, there are some small changes this year. The entrance photos will be viewed and scored by a designated tournament judge. That will be an angler or an individual that is not participating in that tournament. The permissions granted to them within Tourney X do not include location permissions. So that location will still be audited by a member of the tournament committee, which consists of myself, Dan Sasser, Chris McNeil. The specifier or identifier will be announced at the captain's meeting and will be in Tourney X. Those have to be visible in one of two ways. We approve the use of tourney tags. You can use those on your wrist or on the board, or you can write it on the back of your hand. Those are the two approved locations. We don't want the judges to have to look in 4 different places to try to find your specifier. Fish will be measured to the nearest 1/4 inch, rounding down. It's the angler's responsibility to make sure that we have clear pictures. If we can't see clearly that your fish is across the line, then we round down. 5 longest fish added together with the total score, unless otherwise noted. An example of an exception would be if we were to do a Major League Fishing style event where it was the total of all fish caught. Under Section 10 of photo criteria, we require the entire bass from tip to lip to the end of the tail to be visible. Kayak must be visible in the picture. The bass must be laying facing to the left. There's a 1-inch penalty if the judge cannot clearly determine that the lip is touching the bump of the measuring board. If the fish is clearly not touching the bump at all, it'll just be disqualified. The markings must be clear on the board. The identifier must be clear. The mouth must be completely closed. There's a half-inch penalty if the judge can't tell that your fish's mouth is completely closed. If it appears that there's no attempt made to even close the mouth, there's no way for us to know how much advantage was gained. Meaning, like if the fish's mouth is open really obviously, then we have to DQ the fish, because there's no way for us to know how much, whether it was a quarter inch or a half inch or whatever, was gained by that. We do allow pinching of the tail. We don't want your hand on the tail in the picture. Here's important criteria. The lip, the eye, we want to be able to see. The tip of the tail cannot be obstructed either, even by your hand or the identifier. We don't want your fingers or hands or anything under the gill plates, no stringers, clips, or fish grip. And the photo must be taken by the angler who actually caught the fish. Number 11, for measuring devices, we allow catch boards. So either the polycarbonate or the aluminum. We allow every color, but again, photo criteria is the angler's responsibility. Some of those boards are really hard to see, especially the darker colors. And so we recommend the lighter colors so that there's clear distinction between the fish and particularly the tip of the tail of the fish and the board. So if you're looking at buying a board, kind of might not want to buy a board that's the same color as the tip of the tail of the fish, because it's really hard to tell the difference. And there's no sharing of measuring devices during the tournament between anglers. Again, this is an individual tournament. Modifying the board in any way in which it measures fish is considered cheating, and you'll be disqualified. Number 12, rules, interpretations, and protests. All the rules and their interpretations are decided by the tournament committee. And that's going to consist of myself, Dan Sasser, Chris McNeil, and usually one of the advisors. The tournament director's decisions are final. Once we get past the time for protests and award money, then the decision is final. Depending on the event and the accusation, anglers may be required to submit to a polygraph. Cheating on this trail may constitute a ban from other events hosted in Alabama, and may be subject to criminal prosecution. Some things that I think are important because it's happened multiple times. If you catch a fish, especially in the spring during the spawn, and it looks really, really rough, and maybe has cloudy eyes, or maybe looks like it's been through a few battles, I highly recommend that you submit your pictures as quickly as you can, and then video that fish swimming off so that you can demonstrate that it was alive at the time of the catch and the time of the release. We've had multiple times where that's come up, and that's just a way for you to protect yourself as an angler. It's common for fish to be in rough shape sometimes, and particularly in the spring. That's it for the highlights of the main rules. Again, for the greatest detail, and you are responsible to know and read these, nakatrail.com, and the rules is up on the top left. Make sure that you know them before you click on that link in TourneyX that says that you've read them and that you abide by them. Good luck, guys, and we look forward to fishing with you this year, and wish you all the best.